Thinks they know how politicians steal our money, and you're probably right on a lot of things, but I'm going to tell you another way they steal our money that a lot of people don't realize. So I'm going to get into that, in particular Social Security, and also we're going to throw a little bit of Medicare in there, how they don't give us what we're supposed to, what we actually paid for. It's kind of like hiring a lawyer or hiring someone to do your landscaping, or hiring someone to fix your car or something. You pay them in advance, and then they never show up and they never do anything. So that's kind of how the whole situation is with Social Security. All right. So, and I've also got a bunch of questions. This is also a live Q&A. Someone's asking about disability and having $2,000 in there. That's a incorrect statement. You probably talk about SSI, but I'll get into all the questions here. That we got tons of questions, but I want to talk about how politicians have been stealing your money. A lot of people think that how politicians steal the money is they're stealing the Social Security Trust Fund, and that is not correct. In terms of people think that the Social Security Trust Fund has, it's all fake money. That's why we're going to get cuts in the future, is because, the Social Security Trust Fund is running out. Yes, the Social Security Trust Fund is running out, but Social Security is going to be here for hundreds of more years, as long as we don't privatize it, give it over to the billionaires, Wall Street, or something like that. Is if we keep it as the Social Security Administration, our Social Security Administration, it's going to be around here for hundreds of years, no problem. The problem is how much you're going to get. Because the trust fund is running out, that's the issue. The trust fund runs out at about 2031, 2032, and based on the big, beautiful bill, it's going to be about a year earlier there than it was before. I've talked about this in other videos, but the trust fund, when it runs out, it's going to miss that gap. Right now, there's this much coming in every year, and there's that much going out, and there's that gap there, and the trust fund covers that gap. And no, it wasn't stolen. On my website, mygovexpert.com, I've got a website that deals all things. If you're new to my channel, retirement, disability, survivor benefits, Medicare, overpayments, living overseas, veterans, Medicaid information, appeals, and if you've got, I've also got a little section on myths debunked. And the very first one is the trust fund was stolen and raided by the government. No, the trust fund is still there. The Social Security Trustees report just came out with their brand new report over the last about a month or so, and they went through all the details. So if you've got insomnia, you can't sleep, just pull up the Social Security Trustees report, and I guarantee you after about half a page, you'll be out like a light. It's pretty boring, but there's the money. There's the trust fund. It's about $2.5 trillion. It's still there. It's earning interest, $63 billion it earned in 2024. So the trust fund is still there. It's not fake money. If you're receiving Social Security check, you are receiving probably this year about 8 or 9, 10% of the trust fund. That's where the trust fund is going. It's going into your Social Security check. Next year it's going to be more, then it's going to be more, and then it's going to run out. And that's the problem. And there's not going to be that gap there. That there will be a gap, and there's nothing there going to be to fix it. Okay, so that's not how they steal the money. How they steal the money is a completely different way, is they don't provide the customer service you paid for. Again, this is like, paying someone in advance to come fix your, fix your car, whatever the case may be, your, plumbing, and then they never show up. All of those decades you paid into Social Security, that money, FICA, went to, your future retirement. Unfortunately, if you became disabled, it went to your disability. If you passed early, it went to your surviving spouse or children if they're under 18 and or disabled before the age of 22. We get into all those little details about benefits eligibility. But if you can't get those benefits because nobody's there at the Social Security Administration, that's essentially the politicians taking that money that you paid all of those decades. That money was supposed to go, part of that money, all that money you paid, part of that money was supposed to go that says, okay, hey, in the future, when I turn 62, 65, 67, or I become disabled or I pass away, I expect someone to help me out, get my money, get the right check at the right time. You're going to have somebody there to help me out, right? And the politicians say, yeah, we're going to have you. But what they have done for the past few decades, it's not only this administration. This administration has really doubled down on destroying customer service. Elon Musk and Doge and And now I guess the Supreme Court gave the president, carte blanche to pretty much to fire anybody. So we'll see customer service. Hopefully it won't get any worse. But this has been a long time coming. So this little graph here that I've got up on the screen, we're looking at baby boomers is the gray bars there, baby boomers, the 70 million people born between 1946 and 1964. Those are slowly retiring. There's about 11,000 that turn 65 every single day. And that red line is the people at Social Security Administration that are supposed to be helping you. So it's gone down every year, pretty much every year, a little spike there a little bit, but it's even worse now. It's even worse. There was about 7,000 people that were, summarily vacated from the agency, and that's why it takes forever to get anything done, to retirement claims, survivor benefits, disability, whatever the case may be. And that is how this politicians have stole your money. Social Security only works with the budget they're given. If Congress gives them, X amount of money, that's what they have to do is with X amount of money. If Congress says you can, based on, your staffing and how much customer service, oh, we're going to give you some extra money so you can build up your computer system and provide, better customer service. They refuse to do that. Both sides essentially have not, come through over the last few decades. And that is your money that you paid for. So they're stealing your money. Politicians are essentially stealing your money. They, took all that money all those years and they said, well, no, we're not going to honor our commitment to provide customer service for you. And here's another way they could steal your money is if you're a regular viewer, you already know where I'm going here. But if you're not, if you're new to my channel, hello, make sure you subscribe, like, share, and all that kind of good stuff. Join us for any questions. If you're watching this on a recording, make sure you join our next live Q&A, which I do pretty much every day. I have no life. Was it 3 o'clock West Coast time and 6 o'clock East Coast time? Okay, so another way they steal your money essentially is because you're not getting the correct customer service. You're quite often not getting the correct answer, and therefore you're not getting your correct benefits. You're not getting your benefits the correct check at the right time or the right benefit. People think, when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? So they think Social Security is retirement and Social Security cards. And they fail to realize that, okay, yes, it is that, but it's also, early retirement, delayed retirement credits, voluntary delayed retirement credits. We're talking independently entitled divorced spouse, disabled widow benefits, spouse, divorced spouse, children benefits, disabled adult children benefits, SSI, supplemental security income. You've got Medicare, Medicare savings program that works with Medicaid. There are just so many variables, and that's one of the reasons I built my website. Many people argue, as well as I do, that the website that me and my viewers have built over the last several weeks is better than the Social Security Administration website. And I think I would agree. We've got all kinds of different calculators in there. And when to start, you got a little calculator there. It kind of gives you an idea of, when you should start your benefits. Got questions on Medicare, Medicaid, and it's in English, like the SSA website and the Medicare website. And there's more being added on a continuing basis. Okay, so that's how Social Security essentially steals our money, is they don't provide what we paid for, and because of it, a lot of us are losing money. We're not, if we had a dime for every time someone came on here and said, I wish I would have known that, last year before I filed 5 years ago, 10 years ago, then, we would have, be billionaires by now. So another way politicians essentially, well, this is more Medicare related. FICA tax. FICA tax is two things. Is Social Security, the 6.2%, and then the employer pays the other 6.2%, and there's also the Medicare, 1.45%. So you pay 1.45%, and your employer pays another 1.45. If you're making a lot of money, you actually pay a little bit more percentage for Medicare. But for Medicare, you pay into Medicare all of those decades. If you sign up for Part A, Part B, okay, awesome. Part A is free, zero premium for most people, 99.9% of people out there. Part B is $185. Okay, good. A lot of gaps there. So to fill those gaps, You get either a Medicare supplement plan, which are the ones I recommend, a Plan N or a G, but doesn't fit in a lot of people's budgets. So they go ahead and get a Medicare Advantage plan. Okay. And the Medicare Advantage plans, a lot of those out there have zero premiums. And you're like, oh, this company is awesome. They're giving me all this free stuff. Okay. This is the same exact thing. You paid for that. None of these companies are that altruistic and that awesome. They're in it for a buck. And you're like, wow, this is awesome. How can they give me free transportation and dental and vision and grocery cards and all that kind of stuff? And if it's only zero, this is awesome. No, that's your money. All that money you paid into Medicare all those decades, that's your money. And if you get a Medicare Advantage plan, your job is to get your money back. That's what one of the things we help here is to make sure you get your money back. You should be receiving a letter. If you're a Medicare Advantage, they're supposed to come out with new letters this year for the first time ever. And they're supposed to send you a letter that said, hey, you've got our Medicare Advantage plan, yada, yada, whatever company, Super Gold Plus. You know that you have $2,000 of dental, right? Just kind of FYI, that's a brand new letter that they're mandated by the government to send out because a lot of people weren't using the extra benefits because they're terrible or they didn't know about them. So the companies now have to send out a letter that says, you've got this, you've got gym membership, you've got this, all this transportation. So make sure you use all that stuff. If you've received one of those letters, make sure you type it in chat and tell us, what it was and how it was formatted, because this is a brand new letter. I like to see if there's any examples out there if people already received those. Okay, so that's what we're talking about today. And then let's go ahead and if you got any questions about that, you got any comments, make sure you type them in the chat or the comments in any of the platforms you're watching this on. But let's go ahead and move into some actual questions about all things Social Security. Paula asks, let me move some stuff away here. Can you have an IRA and or pre-tax 401 counts with SSI? If you're talking about SSI, no. You have to stay under resources, $2,000. If you're single, $3,000 if you're married. But I don't think you're talking about SSI, because if you had a 401k and an IRA, then you probably weren't going to qualify for SSI. SSI is supplemental security income. It's the welfare-based program that Social Security administers based on disability or being aged 65 or older. So you probably mean something else. But if you do mean SSI, as long as it's under $2,000 resources or $3,000 if you're married, then yes, you can have that. If you're talking about retirement benefits, SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance, survivor benefits, spouse benefits, or anything like that, Social Security doesn't care. Social Security actually does care. They want you to have all that. That's, the three legs of the stool that FDR was talking about, that, don't depend on Social Security alone. When, you're supposed to have Social Security, you're supposed to have your own savings and a pension. Pensions don't exist very much anymore. But yeah, theoretically, hopefully, yeah. Can one put SSA under a trust? Your own trusts? Yeah. Your Social Security check, you can't put it under a trust, but once you get your check, you can do whatever you want with it, but you can't contact Social Security and tell them to put it under a trust. Unless you're talking about the greater social, it is in a trust fund. The Social Security is a trust fund. It's monitored. Elon Musk called Social Security the greatest fraud and Ponzi scheme and stuff, and it's because he doesn't care about it. But yeah, a Ponzi scheme doesn't come with a full, boring, super boring, multi-page analysis of exactly how much came in and how much went out and how much is in the bank and how much interest and and all that. So yeah, he just wanted to attack it. I am 81 in Florida, QMB on on dual complete, 1258 Social Security with no other assets, $100 SNAP. Am I safe? Many thanks. You're talking about the big, beautiful bill that is cutting $1 trillion out of Medicaid. So you have QMB, which is the higher levels of Medicaid, and a dual complete plan. So if something happens, as of right now, It's not going to take place. Politicians are politicians. They don't do anything until after the midterms, until you vote them back in, and then they might do something else, even worse. But as of right now, it's up to the states. Some states, because they see the writing on the wall and they say, hey, $1 trillion being cut out of Medicaid, and sure, it's not going to happen for a year or two or whatever, but, we need to start saving money now. So I'm keeping an eye on this. I'm coming up with a new platform so people can monitor this and help each other out and make sure they keep their Medicaid and reach out to politicians and all the rest of it. So I'm keeping an eye on this. Keep an eye on this as well. If you see any politicians start doing crazy things, start thinking about cutting Medicaid, then please come on in here and let us know, and then we can take action and see what we can do. But as of right now, you are good, so don't worry about it. But if you get a recertification letter, which you do on a regular basis, in the future you're going to get them twice as much. It's another attempt to kind of, paperwork purge, get people off the rolls without technically kicking them off. They're just like, well, they didn't fill out the paperwork. They forgot to check this box, and so bye. So we're going to make sure that happens. So just continue on. If you've got a dual complete plan, that means you have Medicare, Medicaid. Make sure you're on the best plan. Get those extra benefits, that you paid for, that we paid for, to help you out. The grocery cards and all the rest of it. Make sure you use it. A lot of people get those grocery cards. A lot of people ask about those grocery cards. Are they a scam? Are they true? They're true. The way they advertise them is very scammy. But anyway, they are a reality. But a lot of times people don't realize they even have those. If you have a dual complete plan because you have Medicare and Medicaid, if hopefully that you probably do, depending on your area, particularly Florida. Florida has the best Medicare Advantage plans, if you ask me. A lot of competition in Florida. So if you have one of those grocery cards, make sure you use it. Because sometimes those grocery cards, they expire after, at the end of the month or every quarter or something like that. So if you don't use that money for actually grocery or electricities or whatever the case may be, then you're going to lose that money. So make sure you reach out to the person that, signed you up, or that particular company, and say, hey, am I using this thing correctly? Am I getting every dime I need, that I'm eligible for? So if you signed up with Chapter, and this is Chapter Medicare, they help people with all things Medicare supplements, Medicare Advantage, all the rest of it, 100% free, and they sponsor this live Q&A. Tangible. So I won't get my first benefit payment until December of 2026. I'm a surviving spouse who turned 60 October 31st, 2026. You won't get your first benefit payment until, so you have to be 60, you have to be the age the entire month. So yeah, you'll get your first one in December. That is correct. And by the way, you have the same birthday as I do. So Halloween babies. Yes, I know, explains a lot. So anyway, there's that. All right. What other kind of question? And I've also got I've got a lot of, well, not many. I have about 4 video questions today. Some people sent in video questions, so we're going to watch those videos and answer those questions today as well. And if you have a video question, you don't want to type in, or you have a longer question, just go onto my website, mygovexpert.com. Go in the bottom left, there's a little icon that shows the camera. Record your video, and I am getting to those 100% the next day. So I've got some that just came in about 5 minutes before I started, and I will answer those questions today. Let's see. I think AI Williams is asking you if you can deposit your Social Security check into your own personal trust account. Oh, okay. If that's what Al Williams is. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Social Security can't say anything about what you do with that money after you get it. Yep. So absolutely. You can head to Vegas and gamble it away, or do whatever you want. If you're on SSI, supplemental security income, if you get, well, if you have a trust account, then you're probably not on SSI anyway. So Robin, hello again, Dr. Ed. I'm 68. What's up? I'm 68 on Social Security, and I have a small floral business, less than $8,000 a year. Do I still have to report it to Social Security? Nope. You're past your full retirement age. Well, it'll be automatically reported to Social Security, but Social Security doesn't care because you're definitely past your full retirement age. So your business, floral business, could be making $800,000 a year, and Social Security doesn't care because you're past your full retirement age, and it doesn't matter anymore. So, and maybe you were on disability before, and you think you're still on disability. You ain't. You know, proper English there. You ain't. Um, the Once you hit your full retirement age, anybody on disability benefits is automatically switched to retirement benefits. So yeah, you're no longer on disability. You're on regular retirement. After your full retirement age, you can make $1 billion a month, and Social Security doesn't care. But they will be notified, and that's a good thing, because if you made, you made 800,000 last year in your floral business, or this year, when you do your taxes and all that stuff, you talk to your friends at the IRS and you do all your taxes, and you put your ounce of blood out there, then the IRS will notify Social Security, and then Social Security will look at how much you made, and then it'll say, okay, is this Robin's high 35 years? And if it's one of your high 35 years, then they recalculate your benefits and you will get an increase. So that's 100% automatic. You don't have to do anything. So, Robin, if my ex-husband is giving me spouse for support, but he pays the taxes on it, do I have to report that as income? Yeah, that's between you and your friends at the IRS. Social Security, yeah, that's, and here's, this leads into a question, an issue that a lot of people are losing money on, is when they get divorced, the ex or the ex's lawyer puts something in the divorce decree that says, okay, you get the dog, I get the car, we'll split the house. And then they also put down there, you're never getting my Social Security money. And Social Security doesn't care. That has no weight at Social Security at all. When you go in to collect ex-spouse benefits, divorce spouse benefits, surviving divorce spouse benefits, or whatever it is, Social Security, they only care about is the marriage duration. Were you married to this person, divorced person, for 10 years or longer? Yes. You need to prove it. Okay, well, how do you prove it? You give us the marriage certificate and give us the divorce decree, and you hand that over to Social Security, and I've done this hundreds of thousands of times. Then the Social Security employee looks at the marriage certificate, bride, groom, when were they married? Divorced, defendant, plaintiff, when were they divorced? That's it. That's the only thing they look at. Those 3 items on the divorce and those 3 items on the marriage certificate. They don't look at anything else. They don't look down there and says, oh, well, according to this, you can't get this person's Social Security. Yeah, no. Nice try. Nice try, lawyers, but doesn't work. They might, put something in there. Well, because you're going to start getting Social Security, I'm not going to give you a pension anymore or something like that. They might do something like that, but it has nothing to do with Social Security at all. So people making under 17,000 per year don't get anything out of the big bill. Yeah, a lot of people making even a little bit more than that, because the whole thing about, this fake email that went out from the Social Security Administration that, there's no more taxes for 90% of people. Number one, for about half of the people, they never paid taxes on their Social Security benefits because you had to make, a certain threshold. And the big beautiful bill is just a temporary, deduction. It's not getting rid, no taxes on Social Security, that campaign promise. No, it's just a temporary deduction. And because of that, as I think I showed in my previous thing about the boring Social Security trustees report, you see that money there, the interest, the $63 billion in interest, or excuse me. So the taxation of benefits, that's the one I was looking for, the taxation. So people do get taxed, not, about 40–50% of people don't get taxed on their Social Security benefits. But if you have other income, you're working, making, another 50, 60, 100,000, $200,000, whatever the case may be, then you do get taxed on your Social Security benefits. And that money, the IRS gives back to the Social Security Administration, and this is what comes into the Social Security Administration, that $54 billion in 2024. And that helps the trust fund. Now that's going to be essentially gone. So that means the trust fund is going to disappear quicker, and therefore we're going to get more cuts. So the people that make 17, 20, 25, $30,000 or whatever from Social Security they get zero benefit from the big beautiful bill, and actually they get hurt because their benefits are going to get cut sooner and deeper. So all right, let's see. There is a lot of social. Let me find my little cursor here. There is a lot of Social Security going overseas. How do we know those people are still alive? They have what's called, if you're living overseas, they have a pretty much a yearly are you still out there letter. People living overseas love that letter. And it's basically, let me find my living overseas here. So I've got a section on my website for people living overseas, getting benefits and reporting requirements and receiving all that. Yeah. So if you're a U.S. citizen, you can live anywhere in the world you want. If you're not, then there's certain limitations if you're, green card holder and stuff, and you can check that out. I've got a link to the Social Security website that shows you the payments abroad screening tool and stuff. But if you're a U.S. citizen, let's say, for example, yeah, you can live anywhere in the world you want. But about once a year, Social Security sends you a letter to see if you're still out there, kicking and screaming. And if you don't respond to that letter, then they stop your benefits. So that's how they do that. Let's see. Someone says, the problem is they don't want to save. They want to take all the money is there and give it to Wall Street to invest. Not sure their plan is there's a crack. Yeah, and this has been a plan for decades. If you look at my YouTube description, I've got the link to the actual blueprint that these people are following that they wrote in the 1980s. It's basically attack Social Security, call it incompetent, say Social Security is, paying, 20 million people over 120 years old, like Elon did, which he never found a penny. I told him he never would. And he's never admitted that. So yeah, that's not good. So attack Social Security, ruin confidence in Social Security, destroy customer service, and that way people will hate Social Security, and eventually they'll come in and they'll say, well, since Social Security hasn't been doing their job because we haven't been, allowing them, let's just go ahead and give it to Wall Street. And at that time, we will say, okay, all right, I guess. So. I heard Medicaid work requirements won't start until January 2027, but SNAP will start right away. Is that true? Yes. And no. In some states, they already have work requirements. Like in Georgia, there's been doing work requirements. Some states, I think Idaho and Iowa are already going to start doing work requirements. Arkansas, which did work requirements before, they said, hey, we already did them before and they were terrible, so we don't want to have to do them. They're asking for an exception, so it's amazing. Arkansas, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. It's yeah. And that's the federal laws. So states, we have a federalist system in this country, so states have a lot of latitude. So if they want to do stuff early, they can do early. And some states are doing that because they realize that when you get $1 trillion cut out of a particular system, the states are saying, hey, we can't cover that. We can't make up that difference that the federal government is no longer paying us. And if you're a super rich state like New York or, California, you might be able to, cover the difference. But a lot of, these other states, Louisiana and, Mississippi and Alabama and Pennsylvania, the governor just came on and said, yeah, we can't cover the difference. We don't have it. So we're going to have to kick, hundreds of thousands of people off of Medicaid. And some of these states are going to be doing this earlier. And so please reach out to your politicians and your state politicians and say, hey, don't do it. But if they've got no budget, then they've got no budget, unfortunately. Time travel. All right. Back from the future fast. If someone starts receiving benefits at 62 and another person starts receiving benefits at 70, the person claiming at 70 will have a higher initial benefit amount due to delayed retirement. That is correct. It's called delayed retirement credits. So if you get your benefit starting at 62, we're talking about a 30% reduction. If you get your benefit at 70, it's actually 24% more because you get 8% for every 12 months you wait after 67. So yes. I'm locked out of my Medicaid account. I tried calling them to get my account unlocked. All I got was voice recording and different phone numbers leading elsewhere. Yeah. This is one of the things my new website is going to do is that it's ambitious platform. We're going to do a lot to help people out. But it's, yeah, it's a lot. So I think I'm going to focus the first iteration on Medicaid. So in this particular case, there's going to be, local people helping y'all out, making sure, you don't fall through the cracks, because the federal government is putting up a bunch of hurdles to prevent you from getting Medicaid and Social Security and retirement and Medicare and all the rest of it. And also putting up hurdles to prevent you from keeping those benefits. But we're going to fight back. And yeah. Judy, is there any hope for ones that live in below poverty emergency money now? Are there any hope? Yeah, I mean, there's a social safety net, but the social safety net just took a humongous hit. I mean, this is the worst attack on America's social safety net, in history, in American history. And if it was to pay down the debt, it was like, okay, well, we racked up this deficit, we and our parents and stuff like that. And to make sure we don't give it to our kids and our grandchildren and stuff, okay, maybe we really have to bite the bullet across the board. But that's not what they're doing. They're not doing it across the board. They're hurting the most vulnerable to give that money to the most fortunate. And it's not paying down the debt. It's actually also increasing the debt. So I don't know how any of this makes any sense other than, the trickle down economics. Oh, don't worry about it. It'll boost the economy and it'll trickle down. Yeah, we've heard that since the 1980s, and it never trickled down. The pain has definitely trickled down, but yeah, not much anymore. So, all right, I think let's get into some video questions. Let's see what we got here.
Dr. Ed Weir, I am a retired American citizen living in Argentina. Due to family problems, I had to retire early, but I have always received regularly my payments through my Citibank in New York, where I used to live. I canceled 1 year ago. I canceled my Medicare because here I have I have health insurance. Now, I want to find out whether I benefit for any of the, whether I qualified for any of the benefits of the new benefits. So, due to my low income, I hope that I do. Thank you very much for your wonderful program. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Looks like possibly her son there helping her out. Awesome. And looking out for family. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good job on you. Okay. So, U.S. citizen living overseas. So no problem there. Kind of side note, if you're going to move overseas or something like that, file for benefits before you leave. Because if you file for benefits once you're in your new country, you can, but it just takes 10 times longer. It's way more difficult. And the Office of International Operations is really underfunded, and they are, and making, unfortunately, some mistakes. So, and then if you also move overseas, the bank account issue, if you switch your bank account to any other bank account, doesn't matter whether you're going overseas or any other place, don't cancel your previous bank account. Don't close your previous bank account until you know your Social Security money is actually going into your new bank account. Because if none of them, if they don't get the right routing number or account number for your new one, and then you close your other one, then you're going to be without for a month or so until you get it all figured out. So there's another couple of tricks there. In terms of Medicare being overseas, if you're paying that $185 for Medicare, and you're definitely never coming back to the United States, then, why pay the $185? You'll still keep Part A, the hospitalization. That's, zero premium. But the Part B covers your doctors. And if you're never coming back to the United States, then, $185 is $185. So cancel that Medicare Part B if you know for sure you're never coming back. But there's a lot of expats, a lot of people move overseas and they say, oh, I'm never coming back. And then after, they contact us all the time here and says, after a year or 2 years, the political situation in their own country, something happens, or they get sick or they get homesick or whatever the case, and they come back after, and they've canceled their Part B. And you can restart it, but you're going to be penalized 10% for every 12 months you didn't have Part B. And you can't restart Part B until the general enrollment period, January, February, March. Okay. All right. So in terms of other type of financial assistance type stuff, yeah, being overseas, pretty much no. SSI, supplemental security income, no, because you have an overseas address. You can, if you receive an SSI, you can, travel for up to 30 days, but check might stop and everything if you receive an SSI, the welfare-based program. But in terms of most other programs, definitely with Social Security, being overseas, you don't qualify for SSDI because past your full retirement age. Yeah, being overseas, there's pretty much nothing else out there with Social Security. All right, let's see what else we have here. Someone's shy.
This is Rhonda, Port St. Lucie, Florida. I'm a 100% disabled vet. And from what I understand, at some point I have to sign up for Medicare. But I go to the VA for all of my medical needs and prescription. I don't necessarily want to sign up if I don't have to, because I understand there's a charge per month they will deduct from your Social Security retirement check. So get, how do you not pay that fee out of your Social Security check?
Okay, common question. Same type of situation. You can, if you want to, anybody can refuse, stop paying for Medicare Part B. Okay. So, but if you do, obviously there are repercussions. And if you say, well, I'm going to use the VA, I like the VA, I've got no issues. If you're receiving TRICARE, you're retired from the military and you're receiving TRICARE, then you have to keep Part B. You reach out to TRICARE and you tell them you're going to stop Part B, and they can say, well, sorry, then no more TRICARE for you. But if you're regular just VA benefits, not TRICARE because you didn't retire, then yeah, some people, refuse Part B, don't sign up for Part B, decline Part B, and they have their VA benefits and they're happy. But if something happens, the VA clinic closes, they're talking about, cutting, 80,000 jobs from the VA. If something like that happens or you move and there's no longer a good VA facility near you, what are you going to do? So what some people do is they just go ahead and there's this called this, if you're having a hard time, call Medicaid, and there's a thing called a Medicare Savings Program that if you're eligible for Medicaid from the state, they will pay for your $185. It's called the Medicare Savings Program. So definitely check that out. But if you're not eligible for Medicaid because of, resources and income, then there's called Medicare Advantage Part B givebacks. And a lot of those are called Patriot plans or honor plans because vets get these all the time. And they do as the name implies, they pay for part of your Part B, $50, $100, $185. So you keep your Medicare Part B, and you get maybe some extra bells and whistles with the Medicare Advantage plan, and they just might pay for your Part B premium. And that way, if something happens, if you need a second opinion or something, you've got a fallback position. So, and if you want to see if there's a Part B give back plan in your particular area, reach out to Chapter Medicare and they will check and see if you got something in there. So I have a free gym membership. It's called Walking Around Walmart for about 25 minutes. I like it. Yes. That's what we ought to do, a community challenge or something. So we're all doing 10,000 steps a day. I've got, I'm not going to say how many I have. I'm on TRICARE, and having us start to pay for Medicare, start paying for the $185. I'm not quite sure yet. If you find out more, would you help? Yes. When you're on TRICARE, you have to pay you have to pay the $185. It's just basically government bureaucracy. It's one agency trying to save money by putting it over onto another agency. So becomes first payer, second payer, and all that stuff. So what forms do I need to fill out to get SSI for a spouse for child and care spousal benefits and child benefits on my own work? Okay, so that's not SSI. You're talking about Social Security. SSI is a welfare-based program. Okay. What forms do you need? You don't need any forms. You just call Social Security and you tell them you want to file for child benefits. If you have a child, you are receiving benefits. You are the parent. Another parent is receiving Social Security benefits. Then you are filing for child benefits. And on my website, I've got a section on that. You click on the Social Security and click on the family, and it goes down there, child benefits. It tells you all about it. Who can get it if you're under 18, if you became disabled before the age of 22, and then child and care benefits. And this is one of those things that people don't know about. If you are receiving, let's say you're a husband receiving Social Security, retirement, or disability benefits, and you have a child under the age of 18 or became disabled before the age of 22, and your spouse is essentially, not working so they can take care of that children, children, and one of them is under 16 or became disabled before the age of 22, it's all complicated, then that other spouse, whether they're 30, 40, 50, 60, it doesn't matter, they can get benefits on your record. It's called child in care benefits. And this is one of those things that, as I talk about in this, the start of this video, that politicians are ripping you off, is people don't know about that. I can tell you there's probably tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people out there walking around that are eligible for child and care benefits, but they don't know because they don't know. So that's another reason to share, like, subscribe to this channel, get out there and help as many people get the benefits they are eligible for, they need. And be a hero. All right, let's get another question here.
Played on YouTube. It pertains to money that we might be eligible for on lower income. Are none of those true? They're talking about the 2100 plan, where you would get $660 added to your Social Security benefits. So should we listen to those, or are they not true? Thank you.
Yeah, there's so much misinformation out there, and I spend probably half of my time correcting misinformation out on the social media, and YouTubers out there thinking they're Social Security experts that never worked at Social Security. They go to a 2-day seminar and now they're Social Security experts and they make videos. And I had someone take down a video last week when they did a video, and I put in the comments and I'm saying, hey, this is not true. You're missing the entire thing. And they were good enough to take that video down. So that's good on that person. But in terms of that, you're talking about the Social Security Expansion Act, the 2100 Act. Yes, those are 100% true. And yes, they are 100% Schoolhouse Rock, not going to sing it, bills. That is, John Larson and Bernie Sanders introduced a couple of bills that do that, expand Social Security and give, lower income people more Social Security, and start actually taxing, getting people making over $176,100 this year to continue to pay Social Security like the rest of us schmoes. We pay FICA tax on every dollar we make. But if you're one of those out there making over $176,100, once you make over that, you no longer pay. You're exempt from paying FICA tax. And that's the reason the trust fund is hurting. So Bernie Sanders has a plan to end that cap. John Larson, same type of situation. Those are two bills that were introduced, but I'm not going to sing it. It's just a bill. And in this particular political environment, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen. But yeah, social media, those guys out there, $200 extra a month. This is coming. This is, and it's good in a way that people, they become aware of those particular laws, the bills. And so if those social media people are doing this and saying, hey, there's a new bill, and here's what it is, and let's get together and get that thing passed. If that's what they're doing, then that's beautiful. But sometimes, they lull you in with expectation, and then you go there and it's like, oh, it's just a bill. So, all right, let's see what Barb, the government has gotten away too large and out of control. Glad to see cuts. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure why they didn't start with the Department of Defense. They actually gave the Department of Defense a whole bunch more money. And being an old Marine Corps sergeant, Social Security, there's fraud in every agency. Social Security's passed every review over the last decade or so. Department of Defense hasn't passed one but there's one particular part of the Department of Defense that did, in fact, pass a review. The United States Marine Corps. Of course they did. They're awesome like that. So, Kevin, I understand the theft of SSI, but where is the accountability of inadequate savings for 40 years? Okay, yeah, again, but some people, they're just, some people are just getting by. And to say, well, you should have saved. And they're like, well, I was barely able to, pay rent and pay food. Because since the 1980s, another issue is since the 1980s, the average wage, so on this top line, this blue line here, the average wage has pretty much stayed the same, stagnant wages since the 1980s. This other line up here going up, that's productivity. So you've got X worker since the 1980s that produces way more, every year over year continues to produce more and more and more and more, but they don't get any benefit. Guess who gets the benefit? The top 10%. So we work, produce more, and it goes to the top 10%, and our wages essentially have stayed the same for 40 years. And it's going to get even worse now. Contact lawmakers, public opinion matters, also boycott, don't give the billionaires any more of your money, participate when, where you're able to, better than throwing out hands in the air. Yes, do what you got to do. The Montgomery bus boycott, if you got to walk 20 miles, which they did, which is in that heat. Wow. Agreed. Social Security has nothing to do with debt. Yes, politicians love to distract us, and they're really good at it. Oh, look over here, a shiny object over here. The Social Security Trust Fund was stolen. Oh, I'm still looking for it. I've been looking for it for 20 years, but when I find it, I'll let you know it's not stolen. It's given to illegals. No, it's not given to illegals. Social Security we have a debt. We need to do something about Social Security. Social Security doesn't have a debt. They have $2.6 trillion in assets. The federal government has a debt, but Social Security has a bunch of assets. Are those assets diminishing? Do we need to do something? Yes. So, is it true that when you hire an advocate or representative for your file, even if you let them go before the determination is made, is that true? Do you mean that if you hire a lawyer for your disability claim and you let them go before you get an approval or denial, or let's stick with an approval? Yeah, sometimes they can petition the judge and says, this person, I did all this work, and they terminated my the contract that I was helping them with their disability claim like a week or 2 weeks or a month before it was decided, and I put in all this work. Yeah, they can petition the judge for part of that. And lawyers can get 25% of your back pay up to $9,200. That just increased. Increases a little bit every year in most years. Is it true that they're entitled to that full I don't remember the amount of 6,000 or whatever percentage, whatever is less. Okay, yeah, it's the 9,200. Yes, up to 9,200. It was 7,100. Then it was 6,000. It was $6,000. Yeah, many years ago. Now it's 9,200. So if they take away SNAP and in a way forcing able-bodied to go to work, and wouldn't that help SSA, meaning more people would pay into Social Security to help out the trust fund? I see this as good. Yeah, absolutely. If you're able to work and, and there's jobs around and you've got transportation to get those works and all that kind of stuff, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but sometimes temporarily people, just lost a loved one and, they kind of, recovering from that. And so they're physically able to work, but not maybe, as emotionally, mentally or something like that. But after a while, yeah, I don't think anybody sees any issue with that. But the issue is that's the trick of politicians. They keep saying that, the 26-year-old able-bodied guy in the basement playing PlayStation. And then they cut $1 trillion. Yeah, that math ain't mathing. Yeah, that math ain't mathing. If you kick out all of those people in the basement, able-bodied, and kick them off Medicaid, that's not $1 trillion. So what they're basically doing, it's like you got a kid, and your child eats too much junk food, and you're like, I got to reduce the amount of junk food this kid's eating too much ice cream. I'm allowed to, but the kid's not. So you say, okay, from now on, I'm going to cut your all of your food off by 50%, and that'll reduce your junk food intake. Yeah, it will reduce. Well, they just might replace it all with junk food because they need the calories, but that's kind of the idea, and that's the crazy political logic that politicians have made. So the math ain't mathin'. Is it true that the federal government won't tax the Social Security pension anymore? If true, will it start this year? Well, for most people, your Social Security pension wasn't taxed anyway. But if you were paying last year because you're making other income other than Social Security, higher income, then you will still get taxed. You'll just get a deduction. It's just a deduction. So this whole, the email that went out about no more taxes, no, they're just giving you a deduction. A $6,000 deduction if you're single, $12,000 if you're married. A deduction is basically saying, okay, I made $100,000 this year, so $100,000 of that gets taxed. All of it is subject to tax. I got a $6,000 deduction, so you apply that to $100,000. So, okay, now only $94,000 is taxable, and then so you saved basically a percentage of that $6,000. So somebody did the calculation the other day and they said they're going to save a few $100. So they're not, and unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that see that 6,000 and that's it. That's all they see is the 6,000. They say, when are we going to get our $6,000 stimulus check from, the big, beautiful bill? And when are we going to get our $12,000? I heard, is this a stimulus check? And I'm sure there's people out on social media making videos about that. Are you going to get your 6,000? Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of misinformation. So social media people, don't do that. Stop it. Because what happens, it hurts everybody else. I know you're going out there and, you want as many clicks and all that kind of stuff. But it hurts people. Because when you do that, I know from personal experience working at Social Security, when those stupid things used to go around, trends, people used to call Social Security, they go in the Social Security office and they say, hey, I heard, free ponies and free ice cream. Where's my free pony? There is no free pony. There is no stimulus check. And then person leaves the office, hangs up, pick up the phone again, where's my free pony? Where's my stimulus check? It goes on. And so the Social Security employees, which are already hurting, already low, already can't provide customer service because politicians won't support them, get even worse. So that person in line, the 40th person, 39 people are there asking about that free pony or stimulus check. And the 40th person is there to file for disability because they just were in a terrible accident or they lost their loved ones and they need to file for survivor benefits, and they have to sit there and wait and wait and wait till everybody gets their pony. So please stop it. Hi, I'm Social Security disability. I started working 5 to 8 hours a week. I let my local Social Security office know and gave them a copy of my first pay stub. I was told by Social Security office I must bring my pay stubs to the office. You can fax them in as well. There's things called faxes. Yeah, you can mail them in, fax them in. Yeah, that's fine. You don't have to bring them down there. If you fax them in there, make sure you get your pay stubs. You go to, if you don't have a fax yourself, go to some place that has a confirmation receipt. It's basically, so you put your Social Security number on your pay stubs. you find the local Social Security office fax number, and it's on their Google website, and you fax it in there. But it's got to have the Social Security number and your phone number in case they have any questions. And you fax it in there. And what it does is when it faxes in there, it doesn't print off on a paper thing. It goes to what's called Work Track. It's a paperless system, which I know the guy that designed it, helped design it. And that was me. So it works. It works. The paperless Work Track system works. So you don't have to go down there, particularly if you're on disability and, costing your, wait in line and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm not sure why they told you that. And remember, check out my website. It has all of the information on disability and what you're talking about in terms of working while receiving Social Security benefits. I've got a guide in there. This is 100% free, Dr. Ed's Insider Guide to Work Incentives. You can check out that free guide. I've even got a little calculator, and it talks about the trial work period and the extended period of eligibility and all that kind of stuff. And it actually talks about it in this thing called English, other than this bureaucratic English type stuff. So definitely check that out. So you might not even have to go down there or fax it on a regular basis. So I think I have one more question I missed from yesterday. Another shy person here.
Hi, Dr. Ed. Sorry I voted for this guy. I actually thought I was doing the right thing. I'm interested in the Expansion Act that I understand could give immediate help to those that are not getting anything from him. Also, there is a Social Security 2100 Act. Should we get on our representatives about this? I can't believe that any Republican incumbent is going to get voted in. Thanks. I'm new, so I hope this gets to you.
It got to me. Okay. Yes. Yeah. That's the only thing we can do is contact our politicians in this particular political environment. Yeah, I'm not sure that's going to happen, but elections have consequences, and the midterms are coming up. Also, reach out to your state politicians and say, hey, a lot of people, even if it doesn't affect you personally, doesn't matter. You really need to, we need to look out for each other. Contact your politicians and say, hey, I'm good. I've got retirement. I'm good. I've got a pension. I've got some money in the bank and stuff like that. But I know this one lady down the street, my waitress and, the person that cuts my hair and all that kind of stuff that is really going to be hurt. I'm looking out for them. What are you doing, state politician, to make sure that that person continues to get the health care that they need, that them and their family and their kids and all that kind of stuff. And they're, oh, we're not cutting it and stuff like that. Okay. All right, fine, good. All right. Question number 2. This is what these journalists, when they ask these political questions, they don't get they don't push like old Barbara Walters or Mike Wallace. Okay, fine. So you're not cutting it. Are you making it more difficult for them to get those benefits and continue those benefits? And they, oh, no, it is. Okay, I mean, so if I called the local Medicaid office right now, they would pick up my call and they would be able to help me file for benefits. Is that what you're saying? And they would process my claim. Is that what you're saying? Okay, all right. Well, let me try right now, So hold their feet to the fire. Stephanie, I recently used your chapter organization to set up my Medicare. I had a private health insurance with no monthly premium, and now I have SSDI taking out a premium for Part A, B, and D. Is this okay? Okay, so I had a private health insurance. So, okay, so you were in a private health insurance, Affordable Care Act, or work or something like that. Yeah, so, but now you've switched to SSDI because when you're on SSDI, you get Medicare after 24 months. Okay. So the Part A, that's 0. If you're eligible for SSDI, then you did pay into Social Security, into Medicare. So you're eligible for 0 premium Part A. Part B, yeah, everybody has to pay the $185. And then, wow, you're on SSDI, and you were able to get a Medicare Supplement Plan G. That is more than okay. That is awesome. If you can afford that monthly premium, that's the way to do it. I always recommend Medicare Supplement Plan N and Plan G because there's no networks. You can go to any doctor you want that takes Medicare. You have to do any those crazy prior authorizations. So if it's in your budget, absolutely. So I'm glad chapter hooked you up on that. One thing, you said you had private health insurance. If I'm sure they asked you this because they're awesome like that, and that's why my son and I partnered with them. If you had private health insurance from work, current work, it's probably not yours because you're on SSDI, but your spouse's work. So if your private health insurance came from your spouse's current work, and that plan, that employer group health plan had 20 or more employees, then technically you don't have to sign up for Part B, nor get a Plan G or prescription drug plan. But that's because that's considered creditable coverage. You also have to compare, says, okay, well, yes, my husband has health insurance through current work and I could continue it, but it's not that great and it's limited and there's these charges and these charges and these charges. So I compared this one with A, B, and G, and A, B, and G was the best one. So those are two things. I'm sure Chapter talked to you about that because they're awesome like that. So I'm glad they were able to help you out. A lot of tasks for Medicare and Social Security office can be done online and use AI for most questions. The need for more Social Security workers will not be needed as more become comfortable with AI and doing applications online. Yeah, Don Quixote there and the windmills. I think you're fighting against the windmill. All right, so there's things for that. I've checked out AI. I've done a bunch of questions in AI and it sends you down a rabbit hole. Sometimes it comes back good. Sometimes anything Social Security, it's, and number two is, okay, yeah, I agree. Some things AI can do, but here's the problem. I'm not, these bigwigs, multi-billion-dollar CEOs of corporations that are, Elon Musk and stuff. But they say, okay, here's the agency. It's already hurting. It's already bleeding. People can't get the help they need. It's understaffed, the worst it's been in 50 years. Let's go ahead and fire more people, get rid of more people. And then, eventually we'll, put in AI and do all this other kind of stuff. It's like that, I guess he's a genius, but that doesn't make sense. That's backwards. If you're going to do AI and do all this new whatever, okay, do it. And then once the customer service and people get their claims adjudicated and get the right check at the right time and stuff, then you can say, okay, well, we've got everything all wrapped up and all looks good and we don't need you anymore. Okay, bye at that time. But, riddle me that, Don Quixote. Why did they do it backwards? Because that's the game plan. You look at my description on YouTube, that's the game plan since the 1980s, is to completely attack and destroy and dismantle Social Security until we just, raise up our hand and say, you know what, forget about it. Just give it to Wall Street. So give it to the billionaires so they can, All right. Wow, we are way over time, and I think I got to all of my video questions, and I will be back again tomorrow. And if I didn't get to your question today, I apologize. I'll be back again tomorrow. Make a video. I love those videos. We all like watching those videos, so you don't have to sit here and stare at my face for an hour. So there's that. All right, y'all take care.